Welcome to the Piston Fanatic. I am your host, Dave Dalton, and I'm excited to share my passion and perspective of our Detroit Pistons as we go on this fantastic voyage together. I've been a diehard Piston fan since the days of Dave Bing and Bob Lanier. I've also been the varsity basketball coach of a very successful program in northern Michigan. Currently, my daughter and I are coaching one of the best AAU teams in the country. Well, Piston fans, today we're going to discuss Summer League and what it means. We're going to talk about, naturally, Ausar Thompson and Marcus Sasser. We're going to talk about some comments that Troy Weaver made and some things that Monty Williams said. We're going to discuss some trade rumors, and we're going to discuss a little bit about Beef Stew's contract again. So let's get started with Summer League. So Summer League is over now, and we've got to see not that many games. There's not that many games, so it's really a small sample size, even if you played every game. So Ausar Thompson played in 4 of the 5 games, and Marcus Sasser played in all of them. And so you can't tell. I mean, we watched so many players. How many players did we watch during this past Piston seasons where they had incredible months followed by months that weren't very good, especially shooting-wise. So there's just a big variance. We also have to remember most of these players are not going to be on NBA teams. Each roster, each team that we played in the Summer League, they have very few players that are ever going to be in the rotation during the NBA season. So level of competition isn't the greatest. Still, we can see some things, and a lot of the things that we saw were things that we already knew. So let's talk about them. Ausar Thompson, again, he is our fifth player picked in the draft, and he looks spectacular in a lot of things that he does. And, you know, when I watch games, when I watch Cade play and stuff, there's times where I just watch every movement, everything that Cade does. And now during this Summer League, I was watching that with Ausar. So instead of just following the ball around and seeing everywhere the ball went, I was watching what Ausar was doing. And he is so cool, man. He is, you know, when he goes up for offensive rebounds, he times it. He anticipates the offensive rebound. He sees the shot coming. He crashes into the boards, but he elevates so high, and he times his jump so well, and he can go up in traffic, and sometimes he just even tips the ball, but he competes for them every time. And I talk about offensive rebounding all the time. It is such a huge statistic, especially in the NBA, where you can get those second chance points. A lot of times the percentage is really high. And we got Ausar, and we have Duren, and Duren is one of the best offensive rebounders in the NBA already as a 19-year-old. So I think we're going to cause other teams fits. I think we're going to get a lot of easy buckets off offensive rebounds, especially by those two guys. But the way he goes at it is just he goes up in traffic, and we saw that dunk that he had on against the Spurs where it looked like he maybe pushed up off the defender's shoulder a little bit and got himself a boost, but his head was above the rim, I think, and he hammered that thing down. It was one of his teammates from Overtime Elite that he did it to, so that was pretty cool. But just, again, he gets up so quick and so high, and it's also so great to see, he crashes the offensive boards, and if he doesn't get it, what does he do? He turns around and he sprints. And I talked about this last time, the speed that he's so fast, and he switches ends of the court. His reactions to get back on defense, and then right away he's eyeing the offense and seeing where the pass is going to go, and he either can break it up, their transition, or even just his presence can stop the other team from scoring. And again, it's just a real valuable asset. Transition defense is a huge part of basketball, and he is unbelievable at that. So again, his defense, when we watched him, I really believe that he will be a big-time lockdown defender that you can put on all kinds of guys. I think that you could even put him on the little best guards, and he could cause trouble for them. And he could put him on LeBron James. And is he going to stop LeBron James? No, but I think that he is going to do an admirable job, and I think he's going to cause some problems, just like any of the great forwards. Jason Tatum. I think he would do a great job on Jason Tatum, and nobody shuts down Jason Tatum except Jason Tatum. So, but I think that he would do a great job. He's a great matchup just because of his length and his anticipation and his speed and his quickness, and in his competitiveness. He is just a competitor out there. I do get tickled and I laugh. How many times have I heard, even before the draft, about Amin and Ausar Thompson, the twins, about how Amin is in the top 1% of all NBA athletes right away as soon as he steps on the court, or Ausar is better than 90% of the athletes in the NBA, and it just they feel like they have to put a number on it, but it's just, or a top five. He's one of the top five athletes. Well, you can't. It's really hard to evaluate that and to put that into any kind of context. So it just is humorous to me. But anyway, he is unbelievable athlete, but he can also, there's great athletes. We have, we see players who are just unbelievable athletes every year in the NBA. And, Hamidou Diallo, he is an amazing athlete. He is in the top 5%, I bet, in athleticism in the NBA. But he has no team right now. Nobody has signed him. He's a free agent, unrestricted. So he could be signed by anybody. So I know he was working out with the Pistons earlier, but anyway, he just doesn't have the instincts. He, is quick and fast, and as high as he could jump, he wasn't a great defender. He got lost all the time, and he can't pass, and then he can't shoot. So we are going to discuss that. I know some people pushed back on me a little bit when I talked about Ausar's shooting, and I do think that his shot looks like has potential. But the reality is the things that he, was deficient in when he was playing against overtime elite competition, he still did that in the summer league. So, we looked at what he did, and it's just such elite defense, rebounding, passing, transition, everything. He was just so elite at. But shooting, he struggled just like he did, when he was at overtime elite. He did have the last game. He had 18 points, and he was 2 for 5 on threes. And he had 14 rebounds, which is crazy good. But in the 4 games, he shot 27% on threes, which, again, that's not going to cut it. And he shot 64% on free throws. And that's right in line with what he shot at overtime elite. And I heard one guy that did a study he studied all the players that came out of college or whatever that shot under 65%, and they pretty much all were busts, or at least did not ever become good shooters. I do contend that Ausar is so elite at all the other things that he does compared to other people. We say a lot of things, Killian Hayes, he'll be a great player if he can shoot. And again, he hasn't proven that he can shoot, but Killian is a solid defender, and he is even an excellent passer. But he's not to the level that Ausar is, and he certainly doesn't have the freaky athleticism or the length. Ausar, again, he's 6'7" and has a 7-foot wingspan. So it's gonna be fun, and it's gonna be interesting what happens with the usage. Ausar, Cade got lots of chances to do things because the team wasn't very good his rookie year, and so he scored a lot, and he shot a lot, and he did a lot of assists. He played great. I believe he could have been rookie of the year, but he was penalized because our team's record wasn't very good. And anyway, and then Ivy, he got to do a lot last year, especially once Cade got hurt. He had the ball in his hands all the time. That's not going to happen for Ausar. He's Cade's going to have the ball in his hands, and Ivy's going to have the ball in his hands, and Bojan's going to have the ball in his hands. And anyway, there's Duran's going to have to get some share of the touches and stuff. The great thing about Ausar is he doesn't need to have the ball in his hands. He's great with it in his hands, but if he catches it, he doesn't care whether he shoots or scores. He is a great cutter, and he's runs the floor really well, and he can just contribute a lot of things that at an elite level that don't count for scoring. I wouldn't be surprised, I hope he plays at least 28 minutes a game. So I'm going to say that right now, and again, the minutes are even harder for him to get than what Cade and Ivy and some of the other rookies we had. They only played Duran 20 minutes a game for most of the season, and he was tearing it up, and Casey wouldn't play him more. So I think I just going to throw this out there, and I might change my mind later on, but I just think that if he plays 28 minutes, there's a chance he scores like 13 points a game, and that he could be even less than that, could be more than that, but if he plays less minutes than 28 minutes. It's hard to do that with all those other guys. I think that with 28 minutes, he could get 7 rebounds average, and that's a great number for a small forward. And I think he would get about 3 assists. And now that is solely based on, I think if he had the ball in his hands all the time, he would get more than 3 assists. And so he could even get 2 assists a game because he doesn't have the ball in his hands. When you have to have the ball in your hands to get an assist, where like rebounding, you don't, or getting steals and blocks, which he is sensational at, blocking shots and getting steals. And I think he's going to be way up there in those categories. So we got our guy, Marcus Sasser. He struggled mightily. He shot terrible, and he's a great shooter. So the difference between Sasser and Ausar is Sasser proved consistently over his 4 years at Houston that he could shoot the three really well. He shot close to 40%, and the last year he shot real high volume, and he step backs, and he just was consistently a great shooter, where Ausar has not been a good shooter. So even though he struggled in the summer league, it doesn't mean I still had all the faith in the world that he would be able to be a good shooter. I do think his size, he kind of starts his shot a little bit low, and he's short, and so that I think might limit the number of shots he can get off because of his size. But he had this 40-point monster game last game. All the players that were our better players were not playing. Ausar didn't play. So he got 25 shots. I mean, how many guys in Summer League get 25 shots? But he was very, very efficient. 16 for 25, that's outstanding. 5 for 9 on threes, which is, even better than, what we expect him. 0 turnovers, which is really cool. But he got high usage. Just again, like I said, who knows what his rookie year is going to look like? Where are the minutes for him? If, Burks and Cade and Ivy all play guard, Ausar can play guard. So we have a lot of guards that, and then we got Monty Morris, who has to play as a guard. Some people even suggested Joe Harris might play some 2 guards. So I'm not sure that he's going to get to play. I mean, it'll be fascinating to see how Monty Williams is going to work it, but we know Monty loves him. And so there is something to be said for that. It's like love at first sight with, they interviewed Monty during one of the Summer League games. And Monty told these guys that they asked him how he felt about his 2 rookies. And he said he loves them, how competitive they are, and how they fought all the way to the end of the game. And everything about them he loved. And he loved them so much, he feels like he should take them home and have them marry his daughters. And, I think a lot of people took that, and some people thought that was kind of weird. But I've said that 30 years ago about I would have a guy on my team, and it was just a way of complimenting them that they're respectful, they have integrity, they're good to people, and they're the kind of person you would want your daughter to marry. So that's basically what Monty was said. You sometimes it gets lost, just like text messaging. You don't get to hear the voice, the inflection. You don't get to hear how they're saying it. So I think it's pretty funny, but it is obvious that he loves those 2 guys, and that was something that did come out of Summer League. Like I said, you can't judge everything out of 4 or 5 games, but that is something you can. I do think, though, it's going to also be exciting. I said this last episode, we're going to be so great in transition when we put those guys out there, our young guys. And I also think that we're going to be one of the leaders in the NBA in dunks with, we got Ausar and Ivy and Duran and Weissman, and those guys are all going to be dunking. And Bagley, they're going to be throwing alley-oops. So that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. So there's some controversy about Beef Stew's extension. So one thing, hardly anybody in his class got extended. The 3 big ones, or 4 big ones, Bain got extended too for a lot of money. But Ant-Man, Anthony Edwards got the max rookie extension, and so did LaMelo. So those guys are getting paid a lot of money. And but most of the guys didn't get signed because we don't have to sign them. And so I'm just going to restate my case again, is that I wasn't. It's not that that contract is terrible. I mean, we probably overpaid for sure based on what he's done, but we anticipate that he's going to do better, and I think there's a good chance that he is. I think there's a good chance that he's going to shoot, 35 to 37% on threes. That really could happen, and wouldn't be surprised. But he hasn't done it. But we don't have to. We're not having to sign him. He's restricted. He'll be a restricted free agent at the end of next year. We can match. So instead of having him play this year and be a total bust and not make threes, or we figure out that some of our other forwards are better than he is, and so then now you're paying this guy, $16 million a year. So I just, like I said, I'm not against it. I love him. I think that he's everything a coach dreams about having in a player, his competitiveness, but he can't jump. So there's P.J. Washington for the Hornets. They have not offered him the same amount of money as we offered Isaiah Stewart and gave Isaiah Stewart. Otherwise, he would have signed. But he's so that's up in the air. They don't know what's going to happen. So Miles Bridges signed the qualifying offer for like less than $8,000, and P.J. Washington, who's like 6'9", and he could defend the crap out of the ball. He could switch out. He can defend every position. And he shot the three, I think 35%. He averaged almost 16 points a game. And if I had to pick right now, if somebody said you can have P.J. Washington or Isaiah Stewart, I would take P.J. Washington. And I know some Piston fans are going to kill me for that, but he's more talented and has a higher upside. He's 25 years old. Isaiah Stewart's only 22, so he certainly can improve more. But P.J. Washington is a better defender and more athletic and taller, and he just shows more on the offensive end. He's more athletic, so it's just I don't know. There's a chance. I mean, who knows? We could. If we get him, we would have to do a sign and trade now in order to get him. So I'm not sure if there's anything that they would want that we have or whatever. But I hope he signs. If he signs the qualifying offer for like $8 million, he will be unrestricted next year. So we will have a better chance to see. We'll have money, and we'll have a better chance to see where we are at as a team and what our exactly specific our needs are. And we'll also be able to see if there might be somebody out there that we want even more. So the big trade rumor has been Bogey and Killian, and I don't want Tim Hardaway Jr. Cade wants Tim Hardaway Jr. I know he talked to him about the surgery that he had on his shin, and Tim Hardaway, I think, was, influenced him on his decision to get the surgery because he had it, and so some people have said that Cade would like to play with him, but we just don't need him on our team. I mean, we just don't. The trade obviously would be Bojan, and the rumor is Killian. But then they're saying, we would want, if we were going to do that deal, we would want a draft pick, a first-round pick. And so there's, just this rumor that Dallas does not want to trade one of their first-round picks. I'm not sure if it would be in 2027. But I think that deal it was going to be part of a four-way deal. But I think, anyway, it didn't happen. And so could it still happen? Yep, there still could be a deal. There's still rumors that we made a trade for Evan Fournier with the Knicks plus a first-round pick for us to get back for Bogey. So that could happen still before the start of the season. Again, we got to be able to find minutes. We got to be able to find minutes for Ausar. He's, I think for sure that, Ivy, Duran, and Cade are going to get lots of minutes. But those four are, like I said in previous podcasts, are the foundation of our team, and they're the ones that need to play, and they need to improve. People are going to be disappointed because we might not win as many games as they thought we should, because those guys aren't going to be as consistent because they're still so young. We have 7 of our key players are 23 or younger, and again, that just doesn't happen in the NBA. Most teams that are winning have some good guys, some of their best players that are 26 or 27, and our guys are younger, and younger guys are more inconsistent, especially on defense. So we just, and they can develop. You see, look at Jabari Smith Jr. for the Rockets. Well, of course, it was just summer league, but he looked so amazing. He was dominant. He hit every shot, and threes, contested threes, pull-ups, post-ups, and it's going to be interesting with the Rockets. I talked about the Pistons, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the Rockets. Again, I told you before I don't like them, but they have a tough time, man. They got their forwards. They have Jabari Smith Jr., Tari Eason. Now they just signed Dylan Brooks for a bunch of money. I don't like Dylan Brooks. They got Cam Whitmore and Amen Thompson even. So they signed Fred VanVleet to a max contract to play point guard. So that's Amen's, I think most people think, his natural position. There's different groups that send awards like make all summer league team or whatever, but I heard one person said that Cam Whitmore was voted MVP of the summer league, and so again, I wanted him. I can't say that I just love Ausar, so I'm not sure that I would take Cam. So I did hear that somebody said that based on the X-rays or whatever, the evaluation of his knees, that they thought that he might only last 5 years, on those knees. And so that was what deterred teams from drafting him and why he fell to the 20th. But last game of the Summer League, he had 26 points and 8 steals in one game. So, I mean, he scored a lot of points, but he doesn't pass the ball as good as Ausar. He likes to jump in the passing lane and get steals, but he isn't the good all-around defender that Ausar is, I don't think. So anyway, but I don't even know how much playing time he's going to get. How are you going to play Jabari Smith, Tari Eason, Dylan Brooks, and Cam Whitmore? And I don't know who else they have. They probably have some other forwards, and Amen Thompson. So that they got the same challenge. They got a lot of young talent, but Troy's really big on depth and defense. So that was a big priority coming into the year, and so he did get some more depth. Obviously, the two rookies we drafted are supposed to be great defenders, and I'm sure they're going to be. And he loves, Troy is all about history. Troy from day one he wants to restore, not rebuild, because he's fascinated, it seems to me, that with the bad boys and the going to work Pistons in the 2004, that time zone with Chauncey and Rip, and he talks about them all the time. And he knew that those two teams, their staple was their defense. And so he's trying to, mold this team into the same blueprint that those Piston teams were. So we'll see if he could do that, but it's just going to be fascinating to see what happens with all the different things that have gone on. But Troy loves those two guys also. Don't know how much influence Troy has. I do know that I do feel strongly that Dwayne Casey played Killian and started him all the time, whether he played good or bad, for 3 seasons. And I think that part of it was Troy. One other thing I want to add about Beef Stew, I forgot to say this in the last. Some people, reputable reporters, used the rationale that, of course, we had to give Beef Stew that big contract to re-sign him. Otherwise, Troy would not have anything to show for his 2020 draft, because Killian's a bust and appears to be. He might not be still, but he's still very young, and he still does have talent, and we traded away Sadiq. So now the only player left is Isaiah Stewart. And so, therefore, we had to just give him the money. Like I said, I think he is going to be really good. I hope he's going to be really good. But when you're limited athletically and you average 11 points and 8 rebounds, there's no guarantee. And we got all these other guys on our squad that could be really good. So anyway, I really appreciate you listening, everyone, and please subscribe. I need just a few more subscribers. I need to get up to 500. I don't know why it matters, but it does, I'm told. And so please subscribe if you can. Just a click of a button. It doesn't do anything to you. And do something nice for somebody today. I just lost one of a really good friend of mine that I grew up with. I've been around him for like 60 years, and he was the most loving, kind person in the world to everybody. His name was Mike. And so just like the Gatorade commercial, I just wish everybody could be, including myself, more like Mike. So anyway, subscribe, listen to it, share it with a friend, let a friend know, do something nice for somebody today, and go Pistons.